The courtroom wasn't tense at first, it was tilted. Tilted toward power, privilege, and politics. Judge Judy wasn't being treated like a legend that afternoon. She wasn't even being treated like a judge. She was being treated like a formality. A name on a plaque. A small obstacle that could be brushed aside by someone bigger. And everyone could feel it. The air was wrong. Too confident on one side of the room, too defeated on the other. It didn't feel like justice. It felt like a setup. Before we dive into this incredible case, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing where my viewers are around the world. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss more unbelievable cases like this one. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. That's when she walked in, the senator's wife. Veronica Hale. Tailored coat, diamond ring heavy enough to bend her fingers, and an expression that made the entire courtroom shift uncomfortably. She didn't just enter the room. She occupied it. She moved like someone who believed laws were suggestions and judges were employees. Her heels clicked once, twice, and she stopped exactly in front of Judge Judy's bench, and smirked. "Let's not waste time," she said, loud enough for the gallery to hear. "I think we both know this case doesn't matter. One call from me, and all of this," she motioned around the courtroom, "goes away." The statement wasn't an accident. It was a threat wrapped in velvet. It was the kind of threat only someone who had never tasted consequences could make. The courtroom gasped, but what people noticed most wasn't her arrogance. It was Judge Judy's silence. Because Judy did not snap back. She did not cut her off. She did not pound the gavel or throw verbal lightning across the room. She just looked at her. Quietly. Calmly. Almost too calmly. And that calmness made the room lean in closer. The truth was simple, Judge Judy was the underdog today. Veronica Hale was connected to senators, donors, committees, the kind of people who could make or break media deals, legal reputations, and careers. Judy knew exactly what she was up against. Everyone did. Even the court staff whispered to each other before the hearing started, wondering if today was the day Judy would be forced to bow to power. But Judy's silence wasn't surrender. It was the start of something else. Something nobody in that room expected. Because what Veronica didn't know, what she couldn't possibly imagine, was that Judge Judy already knew something. A detail hidden deep under the paperwork, something small but explosive, something that had the power to flip every ounce of Veronica's arrogance into panic. That secret sat in Judy's mind like a lit match waiting for the right moment to fall. The case itself looked simple, a nanny accusing the senator's wife of unpaid wages and retaliation. But Judy had seen the patterns, the timeline, the inconsistencies. What Veronica thought was her shield, was actually her trap. Still, Veronica leaned even closer, lowering her voice just enough to make the threat colder. "Do you understand me? Your career is a phone call away from being over." A line meant to intimidate. A line meant to shrink. A line meant to break. But Judy didn't flinch. Not then. Not when the cameras focused on her. Not when the courtroom waited to see if she would defend herself or fold. Instead, Judy said something so soft, so unexpected, that half the room missed it. "We'll see." 2 words. But they changed the air instantly. Because the powerful woman realized, maybe for the first time in her life, that the person she thought she could crush, might be the one person she couldn't. Before we continue, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps this story reach more people who believe in real justice. The showdown had begun. Veronica Hale didn't wait for permission to speak. She turned toward the gallery with the confidence of someone stepping onto her own private stage. Her chin lifted, her shoulders squared, and she folded her hands as if about to deliver a lecture to a room full of children. She didn't see this as a courtroom. She saw it as her domain. A place she believed she controlled simply because her husband sat in the United States Senate. The entitlement radiated from her like heat off concrete. "So let's begin," she said with theatrical exhaustion, loud enough for every reporter to hear. "This entire case is nonsense. A desperate attempt from a disgruntled employee who doesn't understand professionalism." Gasps rippled across the room. Judy sat completely still, her hands clasped, her expression unreadable. She looked like a judge being swallowed by privilege on all sides, an underdog overshadowed by a political titan. And maybe she was. The spectators knew politics had power even in places it shouldn't reach. A senator could make networks tremble. A senator's wife could twist a story before it even left the building. Veronica continued, her voice dripping with practiced superiority. This nanny, if you can even call her that, was paid generously. She was given opportunities most people dream about. And yet here she is, whining because she didn't get more handouts. The nanny sat quietly at the plaintiff's table, her hands trembling, her eyes glued to the desk. She wasn't performing. She wasn't fighting. She wasn't even defending herself. Her silence made her look small. And Veronica knew it. She thrived on it. She was unreliable, Veronica said sharply. Uneducated. Not trained. Not qualified to care for anyone, let alone a child from a respected family. A wave of shock rolled through the courtroom. People, especially mothers, shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Even the bailiff's jaw tightened. But Veronica wasn't finished. She stepped forward smugly and lowered her voice to a venomous whisper that still carried across the room. And frankly, the only reason I hired her was charity. But clearly, charity was wasted. A few reporters scribbled frantically, exchanging glances that said, "This woman is digging her own grave." But Veronica didn't see it. She was too busy swinging her status like a weapon no one dared take away. She kept glancing at Judge Judy as if expecting Judy to flinch, or tremble, or fold under the weight of political power. Judy did none of that. She sat there silent and unperturbed, the underdog who somehow didn't look afraid. But the room couldn't see why. They didn't know Judy's secret yet. They didn't know she was quietly waiting for the moment to strike, not with arrogance, but with truth. Veronica turned to Judy with a triumphant smirk. "I hope you understand the kind of family you're dealing with, Judge. My husband has fought for this country, raised millions for campaigns, supported judicial reforms." Judy finally cut in, her voice quiet and steady. "This isn't about your husband." Veronica blinked, stunned that Judy dared interrupt her. For a second, she seemed unsure how to respond, but her ego recovered quickly. "Everything is about my husband," she said coldly. "And everything involving me is about him. You should remember that." The nanny flinched. The audience murmured. But Judy simply maintained her calm posture, letting the arrogance flow over her like steam. She didn't rebut. She didn't argue. She didn't fight back. And that calmness made Veronica even more emboldened. "In fact," Veronica said, "I find this entire proceeding insulting. I shouldn't even be here. This nanny, this nobody, has fabricated lies to ruin my reputation. And for what? Money? Sympathy? Headlines?" Her tone sharpened. "I have been charitable, patient, and more than generous with her. But some people don't know how to behave when you lift them out of the gutter." The nanny broke. A tear slipped down her cheek. Veronica rolled her eyes openly. "Don't do that," she snapped. "Crying won't change facts." The room recoiled. Even those who tried to remain neutral felt something twist in their chest. The cruelty was too blatant. Too casual. Too comfortable. And still, Judy stayed quiet, absorbing every word like a patient storm. Veronica's voice grew louder. This woman was incompetent from day one. She broke rules. She was late. She disrespected my home. And when I confronted her, she attempted to blackmail me. Yes, blackmail. The accusation was outrageous, and clearly false. The nanny shook her head weakly, unable to speak. Judy finally moved, leaning slightly forward. "Do you have proof of that?" she asked gently. Veronica scoffed. "I don't need proof. My word is enough. And if you were smart, you'd treat it as such." Silence detonated across the courtroom. Smart? Enough? Word? Treat it? These were not just words, they were warnings. Political warnings. Threats dressed up as advice. The audience could feel the temperature in the room shift. People looked at each other in disbelief, wondering if they were witnessing the moment a billionaire-like arrogance tried to crush a judge on live television. Judy didn't argue. She didn't lash out. She simply sat there, the underdog of her own courtroom, letting Veronica build the rope she was going to hang herself with. Veronica continued proudly. "I won't tolerate being questioned. I won't tolerate disrespect. And I most certainly won't tolerate being accused by someone beneath me." She pointed at the nanny without shame. "She should be grateful my family allowed her into our world at all." The nanny's shoulders collapsed under the weight of the insult. Judy watched, quietly, deliberately. The underdog was studying her opponent. Because arrogance isn't loud, it's blind. And the blind always stumble. The gallery felt the energy change again when Judy finally spoke. "Mrs. Hale," she said softly, "I've been listening very carefully. And I hope you're prepared, because now it's my turn." The senator's wife smiled confidently, believing she had already won. She had no idea her downfall had already begun. The nanny didn't stand right away. Her hands trembled as she wiped her cheeks, her breathing uneven, her body shrinking under the weight of humiliation Veronica had just dumped on her. She looked like someone who had already lost before the fight even began. Someone who had walked into court hoping for justice, only to realize she was standing across from a dynasty that didn't believe rules applied to them. And for a moment, it seemed like the world agreed. The reporters. The spectators. Even the tension in the air, all of it seemed to lean toward Veronica's side of the room. But Judge Judy didn't rush her. She didn't pressure or push. Instead, Judy spoke quietly, almost gently, an unexpected softness from a judge known for bluntness. "Take your time," she said. "You deserve to be heard." The word struck the room like a crack in the armor. A woman long silenced was being invited to speak. The nanny lifted her gaze, surprised by the kindness. Not from someone powerful. Not from someone privileged. But from someone who was being treated like the underdog herself that day. Someone fighting the same pressure in a different way. Slowly, with trembling hands, the nanny stood. "My name is Emily," she said softly. "And I never wanted to be here. I never thought I'd have to defend myself against someone who had everything while I barely had anything." Her voice cracked, but she pressed on. "I took care of her child. I fed him, bathed him, held him when he was scared at night. I loved him like he was my own. I worked overtime every day, sometimes 14 hours. I never complained. Not once. All I ever wanted was to do my job the best I could." She swallowed. Her chin quivered. "And for months, she didn't pay me. She kept saying the funds were delayed. Or that the accountant messed up. Or that she would fix it soon. When I asked again, just once, she told me I didn't understand how elite families operate." Veronica groaned loudly. "Oh, please." Judy shot her a single look that cut her interruption clean in half. Emily continued, tears rolling freely now. "I stayed because I needed the job. My mother is sick. My brother is still in school. I support both of them. But every week, it got worse. She yelled at me for things I didn't do. Accused me of stealing. Took my phone away during shifts. Tracked my movements. I felt trapped. The courtroom sat frozen. Even the reporters paused their frantic scribbling. And then, her breath caught. Then she threatened me. She said if I kept asking for the money I earned, she'd make sure I never worked again. She said she'd call people she knew. People who could ruin my future with one decision. Silence swallowed the room. Veronica's jaw tightened, but she didn't speak. She couldn't. The eyes on her were no longer admiring. They were judging. Emily looked down, twisting her fingers together. I never blackmailed her. I never asked for anything except what I was promised. But when I tried to quit quietly, she told me she'd destroy me. That nobody would hire me if her husband made one phone call. A few people in the gallery covered their mouths in disbelief. I was scared, Emily whispered. I still am. But I came here because I don't want anyone else to go through what I did. I came here hoping maybe, someone would finally tell her she can't keep treating people like this. Her voice broke completely at the end. Judge Judy didn't move for several seconds. She just stared at Emily with an expression the public rarely saw, one that blended anger, empathy, and a kind of protective resolve. When she finally spoke, her tone was steady but there was fire beneath it. Emily, she said quietly, you did the right thing coming here today. The nanny let out a shaky breath, relief flooding her eyes. But Judy wasn't finished. Mrs. Hale, she continued, turning toward the senator's wife, I have listened to both of you. And I have been patient. But now the truth is becoming very clear. Veronica stiffened, but Judy didn't raise her voice. She didn't slam her gavel. She didn't posture or perform. She didn't need to. Instead, she spoke with a calm that felt far more dangerous. You believe your status puts you above rules. You believe your husband's position can intimidate this court. But let me remind you, power doesn't rewrite facts. A ripple moved through the room. Judy leaned slightly forward. And what I've seen so far, doesn't look good for you. Veronica's eyes widened. For the first time, her confidence faltered. Judy was still the underdog. A judge facing a political empire. A woman underestimated since the moment the hearing began. But now, the shift had started. Quietly. Powerfully. Unstoppably. And the room could feel it. Judge Judy remained seated, her posture calm but her eyes sharper than they had been all afternoon. She wasn't commanding the room yet, she wasn't even trying to. She was simply watching, listening, absorbing every detail that Veronica Hale didn't think anyone was capable of catching. Because people like Veronica believed only in loud dominance, not quiet power. And that was her first mistake. Mrs. Hale, Judy said softly, I'd like you to clarify something for me. Veronica crossed her arms smugly. Of course. I'm happy to fix whatever confusion she tilted her head toward Emily, has caused. Judy didn't flinch at the disrespect. Earlier, you claimed Emily was constantly late, yes? Correct, Veronica snapped. Always. Always. Judy repeated, voice still gentle. Yes. Always. Judy calmly opened a folder. Just a small folder. Nothing dramatic, nothing theatrical. No one expected anything significant. Veronica leaned back confidently, expecting to dismantle whatever irrelevant paper Judge Judy was about to present. But then Judy turned the first page. It wasn't a statement. It wasn't an opinion. It was a time-stamped log. A digital check-in system Veronica's own household staff had unknowingly submitted. Judy adjusted her glasses. This record shows Emily arrived early on 29 out of the 30 days last month. Sometimes an hour early. Sometimes even earlier. Veronica's face drained of color. The gallery buzzed. Reporters leaned forward. Even the bailiff blinked in surprise. Judy lifted her head, voice still calm. So when you said, always late, what did you mean, exactly? Veronica tried to speak, but the word caught in her throat. That's incomplete data, she muttered. This is being taken out of context. Context? Judy echoed. Let's discuss context. She flipped to the next page. This time, it wasn't logs. It was something worse, screenshots. Screenshots of messages sent from Veronica to Emily. The room fell eerily silent as Judy read aloud. You will stay until I get home. No excuses. Don't ask me about pay again. If you want a career, you'll listen. Veronica lunged forward. Those messages were private. Judy's voice cut through the air like a blade, still quiet, still controlled, still painfully underdog-like. And yet they reveal more truth than your testimony. For the first time, Veronica's eyes flickered with panic. Judy didn't stop. She turned another page, revealing emails from Veronica's assistant explaining that the nanny's paycheck had been delayed by Mrs. Hale's request due to unresolved disagreements. The room collectively inhaled. Judy didn't raise her voice. She didn't need theatrics. The truth did all the shouting for her. Mrs. Hale, you claim this woman was incompetent. But your own documents show she worked beyond her required hours. You claim she demanded money unfairly, yet every paycheck you promised her arrived weeks late, at your instruction. Veronica's lips trembled. Those aren't. But Judy's calm never wavered. And you claim, Judy continued, that you hired her out of charity. She slid one last paper forward. It was a reference letter. Signed by Veronica. Stating Emily was reliable, caring, responsible, and essential to the household. The gallery erupted in murmurs, shocked, disbelieving, almost pitying Veronica now that her lies were folding in on themselves. Veronica's voice cracked. That letter was before things changed. Judy finally leaned back for the first time, folding her hands. Her voice softened, but the softness made it more devastating. No, Mrs. Hale. Things didn't change. You did. Veronica's facade shattered. She turned, desperate, to the cameras, as if they could rescue her. This is political, she shouted. She is targeting me because of who my husband is. Judy didn't respond with fury. She didn't slam her gavel. She didn't posture for the cameras. She simply tilted her head the slightest bit, like someone examining a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. This court does not answer to your husband, she said. This court answers to the truth. Veronica opened her mouth, but nothing came out. And the truth, Judy continued, is beginning to look very different from the story you've tried to tell. Emily wiped her tears, sitting straighter now, not confident yet, but less crushed than before. She wasn't alone anymore. Judy had stepped into the role she'd been underestimated in, not just a judge, but a defender of someone without power. Veronica's voice finally returned, sharp and desperate. I did nothing wrong. She lied. She manipulated everything. Judy raised a single finger. One motion. Small. Quiet. But the courtroom fell silent instantly. Mrs. Hale, she said, you have spent the last hour painting yourself as untouchable. But arrogance is not evidence. And entitlement is not a defense. The spectators held their breath. Judy leaned forward again, but this time, the softness in her voice had been replaced with steel. And I assure you, we are far from finished. The energy in the room shifted completely. For the first time, the underdog wasn't Judge Judy. The underdog was the truth. And it was finally, steadily winning. Veronica Hale's breathing grew shallow. Her confidence was leaking from her eyes, drop by drop, but she still clung to her arrogance like a life raft. She lifted her chin, attempted a smile, and forced out a trembling sentence. You can twist paperwork all you want, she said. But no one, believes that girl over me. The courtroom fell silent. If arrogance had a voice, it sounded like this. If entitlement had a heartbeat, it beat inside Veronica's chest. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't even imagine, was that Judge Judy had been saving one final card. A truth Veronica thought she buried so deep no one would ever find it. Judy opened a smaller envelope. Not a folder. Not a stack. Just a single envelope, sealed, thin, and deceptively unimportant. Veronica squinted, confused. "Mrs. Hale," Judy said calmly, "do you remember telling Emily that you could end her career with one phone call?" Veronica laughed. "Of course. It's true. I can." "And did you say," Judy continued, "that if she ever asked for her paycheck again, you would make sure she never sees another job in this state?" Veronica smirked. "Absolutely. And I will say it again. I protect my household." The gallery gasped. Reporters exchanged stunned looks. Even the court staff stiffened. Veronica didn't just admit it, she declared it proudly. Judy slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a USB. A small, innocent-looking piece of plastic. But Veronica's pressure-filled smile vanished instantly. Her eyes widened. Her chest rose sharply. She knew. She knew exactly what was on it. Judy held it between her fingers. "This," she said quietly, "was submitted to the court anonymously this morning." Veronica's face drained of color. No more arrogance. No more smirks. Just raw, unfiltered fear. Judy continued, her voice steady, almost gentle. "This USB contains a recording. A recording of your voice. A recording of your threats. A recording of you telling this woman, this employee, that you would destroy her life." Veronica stumbled back, shaking her head. "No, no, you can't, that's illegal, that's. Your words," Judy said softly, "are not illegal. But what you did with them is." The bailiff stepped forward and placed a speaker on the desk. The room felt like it was holding a single collective breath. Even Emily seemed terrified to hear it, her hands clutching the edge of the table. Judy pressed play. Veronica's voice erupted into the room, sharp, venomous, unmistakable. "Do not ask me for money again. I will ruin you. I will make sure you never work anywhere. One call from my husband, and you're done." Veronica collapsed into her chair. The gallery exploded in shock. Reporters scribbled frantically. Even seasoned court officials shivered at the sound of the cruelty captured so clearly. Emily buried her face in her hands, trembling. Judge Judy didn't yell. She didn't need to. The room was already trembling under the weight of the truth. "Mrs. Hale," Judy said, looking directly at her, "you did not hire Emily out of charity. You hired someone you thought you could control. Someone you believed had no voice. Someone you believed had no power." Veronica shook her head violently. "She set me up, this is manipulated, this is a violation." Judy cut her off, not with volume, but with precision. "No, Mrs. Hale. This is evidence. Evidence that you abused your influence. Evidence that you weaponized your husband's position. Evidence that you believed you were above consequences." A tear slid down Veronica's cheek, not from sadness, but from the crushing realization that she was losing. Judy closed the envelope gently. "For weeks, you have used threats instead of integrity. Power instead of truth. Status instead of humanity. And you thought this courtroom would bow to you." She paused. "But today, your own voice bowed for you." Veronica broke. She hid her face in her hands, shoulders shaking, the diamond ring on her finger catching the light like a symbol of everything she thought could protect her. Emily looked up, eyes full of disbelief and hope. Judge Judy leaned forward, voice soft but merciless. "No one is above accountability, not even a senator's wife. The courtroom burst into whispers, gasps, and the kind of electricity that only truth can ignite. Judy had been the underdog for the entire hearing. Overpowered. Dismissed. Threatened. But now, she was the force of justice the room didn't see coming. Before we move forward, comment, Justice, if you believe no amount of money or status should silence the truth. Your voice helps keep these stories alive. The climax had shattered the room. And the verdict was coming. The courtroom didn't return to normal after the recording ended. It couldn't. The energy had shifted too violently, the truth hitting too hard, too publicly. Veronica Hale sat frozen, staring at nothing, her carefully crafted image collapsing in front of hundreds of eyes. Those same eyes that once admired her political aura now looked at her with disbelief, disappointment, even disgust. The mighty senator's wife, brought to her knees not by power, but by her own voice. Emily, for the first time in months, breathed without trembling. Her chest rose slowly, as if her lungs were relearning how to accept air after living under fear for so long. She looked at Judge Judy not as a judge, not as a celebrity, but as the only person who stood up for her when the world, and its power, tried to crush her. Outside the courtroom, the world erupted. News stations cut into live programming to replay the audio. Social media exploded, hashtags climbing instantly, hashtag justice for Emily, hashtag Judy unshaken, hashtag power doesn't protect you. Commentators who once tiptoed around political families spoke openly now, replaying Judy's calm dismantling of Veronica's lies. The public could not believe the cruelty caught on tape, and they rallied behind the woman who had been voiceless until today. People across the country sent messages of support, donations, job offers, even letters promising that Emily would never again be alone. Inside, Judge Judy finally broke her stillness. She sat forward, folding her hands, her voice softer than anyone expected. Emily, she said, you showed courage today, the kind most people never have to find. You stood up to someone who believed she could erase you. I want you to know, she was wrong. The tears Emily tried to hold back finally spilled over. Gratitude, relief, disbelief, all of it crashed at once. She lowered her head and covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Veronica looked up weakly. Judge, please. I didn't mean. I was under stress. But Judy shook her head lightly. No anger. No shouting. No theatrics. Just truth. Stress doesn't create cruelty, she said. It reveals it. Those words sliced through the air, not with volume, but with conviction. Judy had spent the entire hearing underestimated, overshadowed by political influence. But now the room saw her for what she truly was, the only person who refused to bow when threatened. The only person who stayed calm while others wielded status like a weapon. The only person who remembered that justice is supposed to protect the powerless, not pamper the powerful. Cameras caught Emily wiping her face, her shoulders lifting, her spine straightening. They caught Veronica shrinking deeper into her chair, her facade shattered beyond repair. And they caught Judge Judy, steady, centered, unafraid, restoring dignity to a courtroom that had nearly surrendered to intimidation. And as the world watched, breath held, one truth became undeniable. This verdict wouldn't just change a case. It would change a life. The final judgment was coming, and its echo would reach far beyond that wooden bench. Judge Judy took a slow breath, the kind that settles an entire room without ever raising a voice. She looked first at Emily, then at Veronica, then at the courtroom that had witnessed arrogance, fear, truth, and justice collide all in a single afternoon. When she finally spoke, her tone wasn't harsh, it was steady. Final. Unshakable. This court has heard enough, she said. And what we've heard is painfully clear. Veronica stiffened, but she didn't lift her head. She already knew this moment was bigger than her. Bigger than her husband. Bigger than the influence she once believed could shield her from accountability. Judge Judy continued. Emily worked tirelessly. She was threatened, underpaid, intimidated, and humiliated. Not because she failed. But because you, her eyes locked onto Veronica, believed you could break someone simply because you held more power. Veronica's lip quivered. "This court will not reward that," Judy said. The room held its breath. "I am ordering full back pay. 6 months' wages. Plus punitive damages for emotional distress. You will issue a formal written apology. And you will attend mandatory behavioral counseling." Gasps echoed around the gallery. "And let me make one thing absolutely clear," Judy added, leaning forward. "If you attempt retaliation, in any form, there will be legal consequences far beyond what you face today." Veronica swallowed hard, tears slipping down her cheeks. Emily covered her mouth, her shoulders shaking, but this time, not from fear. From relief. From disbelief. From finally being seen. Judge Judy softened her voice. "Emily, you are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by the courage it took to stand here and speak." Emily nodded through tears, mouthing a weak but heartfelt, "Thank you." Outside the courtroom, cameras waited, headlines already exploding. Not about politics. Not about status. But about a judge who refused to bend. A woman who started the hearing underestimated, dismissed, spoken down to, and ended it as the voice of every person who has ever been silenced by someone with more power. Judge Judy stood, signaling the end. "This case is closed." The gavel's soft strike didn't just end a trial, it echoed across the nation, a reminder that justice belongs to everyone, not just the wealthy. If you believe no one is untouchable, and justice must always protect the powerless, type "Truth Wins" in the comments and subscribe for more stories that matter.